I am Allan Wylie. Today I want to give my opinion on the women's basketball tournament, and I think it's great, and I think we all should be paying close attention to it. Kaitlyn Clark has recently talked about how high the popularity has been for women's basketball since she has come into the NCAA and done what she's done. Really, in my opinion, that's good for all the women's basketball players, and not just Kaitlyn Clark. We got Angel Reese from LSU, who Clark faced, and kind of a bit of a rivalry after some hand signs those two made with each other before and after the game. I think Clark did the "You Can't See Me" John Cena WWE. I don't know what it was, but and then Angel Reese made like a motion that was going to be her putting on a ring after LSU beat Iowa in the championship game. In my opinion, the women's basketball, it's so underrated, partly because, again, we got men's basketball going on at the same time. People pay more attention to the men's sports than women's sports. That's BS, because the women's game, it can get nasty. And those players, a lot more ball movement than the men's. The men's basketball, it stagnates a lot more ball movement in the women's game. A lot more, I'd have to say, teamwork. In the men's game, you see, you have that one star player. For Cleveland, it might be Donovan Mitchell. For Boston, it's Jason Tatum or something like that. You know what I mean? But for the women's, it's not really one star player. I mean, you have your star players, but it's more than all the team just clicking at the right moment. It's a really beautiful thing to listen to, as well as watch, just because of how quickly they get up the court, how accurate they are in their shots. The 3-point shooting is good over there. How physical they are. People can get black eyes. The women's teams can get black eyes from each other. These are women that they're playing with nothing to lose. They're not worried about making money in the NBA. They're not worried about making, looking good for professional scouts. They're out there because they love the game. And I don't know what more you'd want in a basketball or football or any sport than people out there that love the game, that are going to play their hearts out and leave it all out on the court. The players are also gaining popularity. Obviously, I just talked about Kaitlyn Clark and how she's going to be the first WNBA draft. But Angel Reese, too, she did something where I think one of the girls fouled out and she waved goodbye to the defender. And some people are like, oh, she shouldn't have done that. That was a sports. I'm like, that's sports. All right, that's sports. I think it was funny. I think it was something that, we see the men's teams do it all the time. Angel Reese showed a bit of swagger, and she let it show, and I love it from her. I think she's very confident, and she's somebody that's going to really bring the ratings up along with Kaitlyn Clark. Kamilla Cardoso for South Carolina, the big girl inside. Senior, another person you can keep an eye on. She's really mans the post and manhandles pretty much anyone she comes across, as well as Dawn Staley. She's one of those people that's never satisfied. You could be out rebounding somebody, 15-1, and she's going to talk about that one rebound. She's an absolute character, and her players have done impressions of her on YouTube, and it's hilarious just to listen to their impressions. But no, I mean, you got a lot of good players other than Kaitlyn Clark. Kamilla Cardoso, Angel Reese, Paige Beckers for UConn scored 20 points in the first half of their game against, I believe it was Syracuse. Syracuse scored 28. So she had 20 points, and the whole Syracuse team had 28. That screams out to me quality, and they play the game with a passion that's unmatched really anywhere, in my opinion. I mean, those girls, they put it all out there, and they're not afraid to get nasty. We've seen fist fights between the women's teams. You don't see that too much with the men's teams, but it's physical. And it almost reminds you of the old NBA in the 80s when you'd see Bill Laimbeer knocking people over, scratching them, and do it all, what he would do, his antics with the Bad Boy Pistons. That's what it reminds me of, and I love it. I think that it's a lot more physical. It's a lot more up in your face type of basketball, and it's basketball that is really underrated because of obviously the men's game getting so much popularity, which is fine. But the women's game, in my opinion, at some points is better just because of the ball movement. Like I said, the team, just how good each team is from top to bottom. It's not just Kaitlyn Clark. It's Gabby Marshall, Kate Martin for Iowa, Addie O'Grady for Iowa. On a lot of the boys' teams, it's more, for the Pelicans, it's Zion Williamson, and that's it. For Duke, it might be Jeremy Roach or Kyle Filipowski. And for the good teams, you'll have 2 or 3 superstars. But just the amount of passion and care that these girls put into basketball really shows on the court, and hasn't been matched in a long time by any level of basketball that I've seen, other than the women's college basketball and the WNBA. So it's just really fun to watch them. They really do leave it all out there on the field. They try their hardest no matter if they're up by 30, down by 30, no matter what. These girls are talented, and they're not afraid to show it. Some of them, they can be vicious at times. Like I said, the physicality is something to watch out for. The characters, Angel Reese, when she waved goodbye to the player who fouled out, that was kind of fun. Obviously, probably you're going to get some scrutiny, but that was kind of fun. The Gino Auriemma for UConn. He's another guy that's not satisfied. He loves it when his teams blow out teams by 50 or 60 points. The atmospheres on the NCAA tournament games, each team gets depending on your seed, you can host games at your campus, and that's just unrivaled. We haven't seen that from the men's games since they took away really the option to host games like Syracuse would play at the Carrier Dome for a bit in the NCAA tournament. And we didn't see that anymore because of how the neutral sites work out with basketball. But for the women's game, it's a lot more, how do I say that? They're very sharp when it comes to this game. Each one of them has a very high IQ, and it's something that, frankly, if you don't watch, you're missing out, and you're only doing yourself a disservice because it's only going to rise in popularity, and I'm hoping that maybe given time, it'll equal the men's game, and I think it will. The star players that are coming out of this year, and Paige Becker's returning for UConn next year, you're still going to have star players for years and years to come, and I cannot wait to watch what develops with the NIL, name, image, likeness, the transfer portal, the recruiting class. The women's basketball game is truly one of a kind, and it's one of the best things I think we could watch right now as far as March Madness is concerned.
Another thing, too, is the diversity of
basketball that I think gets overlooked. We see a lot of people that are part of the LGBTQ community, a lot of people that are part of, ethnic minorities. We'll see European players come over as we do in the NBA, but it's really the diversity is right up there with the NBA. These are people that are, we don't, you'll see players come to college from Hungary, France, and that's right up there with the men's game. That's another reason we should all be watching it. And really, like I said, this is only going to grow in popularity. If we think this is big now, imagine what can happen 5 years from now. It's up to us to make give this sport the recognition that it frankly deserves and has deserved to have ever since the tournament's been in inception, and ever since the sport itself has been inception in the late 70s when the women's team started forming. So it's only going to grow up from here. I cannot wait to see where it goes. And I would encourage each and every one of you, if you don't watch women's basketball, college, WNBA, whatever, watch it, because you're going to love every minute of it. That's going to wrap it up here for Newhd Sports. Make sure to follow us on social media at the handle @Newhd Sports. That's on Instagram, Facebook, and X. Or I'm sorry, the handle is actually @Newhd Radio. I'm going to try to create a Newhd Sports account, but haven't gotten around to do that yet. But yeah, follow us at the handle @Newhd Radio, and we will see you next time.